Okay, so we are now live on our YouTube channel, Ariul Marikina Aja Center. Good morning po sa ating mga masisipag na Zoom attendees and sa ating mga YouTube viewers. I am Sales Master Joyce Tabiano from Ariul Marikina Aja Center, and I am your facilitator for today. And to start with our morning meeting, we will be reciting our company motto. So may I ask everyone to please open our camera and unmute our mic to recite our company motto. Ready position, please.
Yeah.
Company motto, go.
Cherish the spirit, create the vision, follow the faith,
serve in
serve in
humility.
humility.
Aja.
Aja.
Sa ating mga Zoom attendees. And ngayon po, binibigyan ko po kayo ng time para po i-share po muna yung ating YouTube link sa ating mga Facebook wall or sa ating pong mga Facebook friends at sa ating pong mga Atomy group chats or mga partners po ninyo na hindi po available makapag-join sa ating Zoom this morning or hindi po kaya ng kanilang signal na mag-join po sa ating Zoom. Sendan po natin ang ating YouTube link para po mapanood din po nila yung ating topic na mapapanood for today, which is a lecture from our chairman, Mr. Park Gill, na talagang makaka-boost po ng ating motivation at talagang mai-inspire po ulit tayo this morning to work hard and do something para po makamit yung mga goals po natin here in our Atomy business. For our leaders and mga Zoom attendees po na nagsisend ng ating YouTube link, pabigyan po ako ng ating okay sign if tapos na po nating isend yung ating links sa ating mga group chats and sa ating mga partners. Okay, so tapos na po ba nating i-share yung ating link? Okay, thank you po sa ating mga leaders for sending our link. And ngayon po, I know we are all very excited to learn from this lecture of our chairman, Mr. Park Gill, entitled Balance Life and Life Scenario. So without further ado, let us share our screen to watch this VOD.
Atomy is a company that's needed for many of the social issues that we face today. And I'll present you with another standard that you can use when evaluating whether or not you should do this business. I should use this company's products even if I don't do this business. If you're thinking that, then you should do this business. But if you're thinking there are brands with better products than Atomy, then you should never do Atomy business. Even if you did, you couldn't succeed. Why not? Because we all have a conscience, and it would be extremely hard to sell something that we wouldn't even use ourselves. So if you conclude that even if you don't do the Atomy business, that its products are still cheaper and better, then I strongly advise you to do this business. Once you make up your mind to do this business, your goal should be to succeed. If success just means paying your bills, it's not success in the true sense, and you're just wasting your time. You don't want to waste your time. You must become successful. Surprisingly, there are not that many successful people out there. In general, people from birth to age 30 prepare in several ways for life. What kind of preparation? Well, they go to school. From ages 30 to 60, most people are gainfully employed. Finally, from 60 to 90, they enter the old age phase of their lives. So we go to school for 30 years, work for 30 years, and spend 30 years in old age. There's an ominous rumor going around about human lifespans going up to 120 years, which presents a very serious problem in a lot of ways. If you're sick and poor, your old age can become a living nightmare. We need a way to escape that sort of living nightmare. Statistics show that at age 60, after studying and working for 30 years, only 1% of the population is successful. In other words, they're wealthy. If you look around, there's about one rich person out of every 100, and those who don't worry about their bills are about 1 in 20. The remaining 95% are practically failures in life. We have some serious soul searching to do about why such a big proportion of the population is struggling and failing, despite having studied and worked so hard. One notable person who studied this phenomenon is Andrew Carnegie, who was born to an extremely poor family. He became a steel magnate and established the Carnegie Foundation. His philanthropic endeavors are still helping many, long after his death. Carnegie gave serious thought as to whether he could become rich again, even if he were to be born again in poverty. Or if becoming rich was just a stroke of luck, and he became convinced that no matter how many times he were to be born into poverty, he would still always end up becoming rich. He was sure to be successful again, no matter what the circumstances were. Carnegie came to the realization that while he discovered the laws of success, so many people struggled and failed because they simply didn't know how to succeed. Convinced of this, he wanted to share these laws with many people. One of the last endeavors that he focused on before his death was letting people know how to succeed. The laws of success. He wanted to teach people how to succeed. The truth is, the laws of success aren't arbitrarily decided. Carnegie didn't just make them up. He merely discovered and then followed these laws, which have always existed. A law is a principle that always has consistent results. For instance, when A and B are added together, the result must always be C. If A and B are added together, but the answer varies between C or D, then that's not a law. Laws are predetermined. Stephen Covey discovered this and called it the true north principle. In essence, the direction north is already determined. It's not like we can just decide that by consensus. Which direction is north? North is predetermined. Therefore, we can also call this one of the laws of nature. For example, water always flows from top to bottom. Some people also call them the laws of farming. The laws of nature or laws of farming must be obeyed to farm successfully. For instance, to grow rice in the Korean climate, seeding must be done in the spring and harvesting in the fall. You can never harvest the crop by seeding in the fall. Everything has to be carried out according to the laws of nature. Likewise, the laws of success are already predetermined, and people can succeed just by following them. You can never succeed by deviating from the set laws of nature any way that you want. Therefore, once we figure out the laws of success, which were discovered and proven by experts and successful people, most of us can succeed just as the farmer, who does his farming by following the laws of farming. So, as long as you live according to the laws of success, over 90% of you here can succeed. In other words, it's possible for all of you here today to make $30,000 to $70,000 a month and be rich. Yes, it's possible. It's not even extremely difficult. It's as easy as farming. What's the first and foremost thing that a farmer has to do? Some people say that he prepares seeds, others say he buys a piece of land, while others say that he prepares the farming equipment, and others say he has to go to the bank for loans. So people have all kinds of opinions, but the very first thing that the farmer has to do is think about how much of what he wants to harvest. If he decides to harvest 10 tons of rice, he will plan to buy land or seeds according to that plan that he has set in his mind. Whatever plan he has in his mind will determine the following plan of buying the land, various seeds, specific equipment, and the number of laborers that he's going to need. This is why I want you to consider in the plan for the farm of your life what your fall harvest will look like. Likewise, you must decide how your life should look in 3 to 5 years in your mind right now. Only when the 10 tons of rice enters the farmer's head beforehand does it enter the warehouse in the fall. The results of a year's worth of harvest will enter the warehouse in the fall. That's why I'm stressing that you must have a clear image of yourself, of your life 3, 5, and 10 years from now. You must even clearly visualize how you will die in your mind. But this is kind of complicated. Why is it complicated? Humans are complicated creatures. This is how humans are composed. Humans have a body, which we can call flesh. Next, we have something called a spirit, and also a soul. Lastly, we are surrounded by an environment. So we are composed of these 4 elements, and each of these 4 elements all have different desires. True success must have satisfied the desires for all 4 of those elements in a balanced way, and only when they are evenly fulfilled will you be truly successful. For example, what the flesh desires is first, to be healthy. Second, to live long. Third, to live well. These are its desires. So you can call this the desire to live well. Only humans possess a spirit. Animals don't have spirits. The spirit has a notion of time. God has also set eternity in the hearts of men, says the Bible. The spirit instills in humans a desire for eternity. Furthermore, our spirit always seeks a spiritual world. Animals lack spirits, so they never seek spiritual activities. That's why monkeys, even in this civilized society, don't worship gods or even have ceremonial events for their ancestors or anything like that. On the other hand, even the most primitive humans in the jungle worship something spiritual. So, our spirit longs for something eternal, something that lasts forever. Furthermore, we have desires to love and to be loved. Our soul desires to know about the unknown. So I can put this desire to learn down here about the soul. Our range of emotions belong to the soul as well. Lastly, we have a desire to contribute to our environment, which includes both our natural and social surroundings. You really want to live a life of giving. Only when the desires of all 4 elements are equally satisfied can you have a truly successful life. Interestingly, all these 4 elements are not mutually exclusive. You want all 4 of these elements to be harmonized, because only then will your true passion emerge. When they're separate, you become cynical. For example, you might think, so what if we live well? Well, for those who say that, the love in their hearts has cooled. The reason that you need to live well is for the people that you love. Your poverty creates despair for your children. Your parents desperately hope that they'll be able to take their last breaths seeing you living well. This is the wish of all parents, and for the men here today. Your poverty makes your wife suffer. For the woman here, Well, how about living well? That way, your poor husbands don't have to struggle so much. Tell your husbands, darling, take a good rest. From now on, just do what you've always wanted to do. You wanted to play golf, right? So starting today, play golf every day. You've always wanted to go fishing, so go fishing every day. Hey kids, you don't want to study, right? Relax, go travel. Another reason why we need to live well is for our children. If you can say to them, hey, you don't need to worry about making money for the rest of your life. When it comes to money, I will make more than enough for all of us for the rest of all of our lives. Don't bother with working for money. How about living for others? Or doing something that you've always wanted to do? Dedicate your life to something you really want to do, even if it doesn't make you a dime. Wouldn't it be nice if you could become a parent who could say something like this? Would your children like this or not? They would love it. How great would it be if we could say something like that to our children? If you leave them alone, they'll end up doing well. Why? Because they'll be doing something unusual or unconventional, and they won't have to deal with fierce competition. And this is why you really need to completely change your old way of thinking and start living well. And once you learn, you realize that you must live well. You also need to become aware of the needy around you. I often cry while watching TV. My sons catch me crying while watching TV quite often. If you say that you'll help others after you get rich, then you won't do it, even if you do make it. You'll be too busy spending the money that you've earned. So you must give a little, even if you're making a little, and then give a lot when you make a lot. For example, Atomy began its charitable activities even during our humble beginning stages, giving as little as a few $100s. We couldn't look far, but we reached out to 2 kids, each in nearby elementary, middle, high schools, and colleges. Our charitable activities began with paying for their tuition and making kimchi for the elderly in their community. We shared as much as we could, even from our very humble beginnings. This is why we must succeed, so that we can help those in need. The more successful that we are, the more we're able to help. So, you must succeed in order to help others. This can give you a sense of urgency for making money. Let's be honest. When it comes to money for men, unless it's for something bad, there's not much for them to spend on. It's completely harmless when women spend money. There are so many things that women can spend money on. For example, when women buy necklaces, they're gold, pearl, all kinds of sorts. For pearl necklaces, there are thin ones, thick beaded ones, thin beaded ones, white pearls, black pearls, even pink pearls. For handbags, they're long-strapped ones, short ones, big ones, small ones, and they have to be coordinated by season and by color, so women need at least 12 handbags. Think about shoes, too. High heels, low heels, open toe, open heel, all of this. Men just need a suit. All they need is a suit and a few ties. Women need long dresses, short dresses, 2-piece sets, 3-piece sets. It goes on. There's so much for them to spend on, so it's okay for them to spend money. It's harmless for women to spend money, but men should not. Again, we want to live well for the people that we love. You ought to arm yourselves with such thoughts. Listen to me, men. I've got a bone to pick with you. Don't make your wives do these 3 things: cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Did you get married just for household services? Why are you men making your wives do this? Your wives have done enough cooking and cleaning. Now it's time for you to liberate them from such chores. Ladies, no more cooking, cleaning, or laundry from now on. You must make up your minds to become rich. What for? Only when you become rich, your beloved husband will feel at ease when he comes home. To love each other, you need to be rich. You must learn and study. You must learn to love as well. Love is an art, and love is knowledge. Love is not just something that works with words. At any rate, in order for you to succeed, only when these 3 elements are harmonized will true passion emerge. So, those who work half-heartedly have cooled love in their hearts. these are bad people. If your love cools, you become a bad person. So, we have these 4 desires: to live well, to love, to learn, and to contribute. A life satisfying these 4 desires equally is what we call a balanced life. After all, what matters most is what you have in your minds and what attitude you have for your lives. You must have in your mind a life in which all 4 of these elements are satisfied. But this is hard to envision. It's not that simple. As our lives are not that simple. Money grows where things are complex. Money that can be made simply is already being made by others, so there's none left for you. Therefore, you must learn how to think in an advanced way. We are endowed with this tremendous gift for thought. Do you know how Atomy was built? What was it built from? Huh? It was built with thought alone. I came in a $2,800 used minivan to tell 17 people that this would become a world-class company. I promised that they'd make $50,000 a month as a royal master. Just imagine, I drove a cheap used minivan to speak in front of only 17 people. I couldn't even afford $10,000 to rent an office. It took me 3 months to open an office with just 2 employees. There was a chairman and a vice president. I called myself chairman with only 2 employees. Why? I knew from the get-go that I was chairman material. I was the chairman from the start. But in my mind, I had this clear vision of creating a world-class distribution company. And if I followed the principles by the book, there would be no reason not to succeed. I had the guts for it, I went for it, and it worked. Again, I'm telling you to play a movie in the mind of the life you want to live. You will get so-and-so's life scenario as a template. The template looks something like this. There's a big circle here. And it's made like this. What you'll be writing here are your goals for flesh, spirit, soul, and environment. And you must write at least 1 for each. It's okay to write 2. As I said earlier, to live well is to be healthy. So health should go here. Next, we want to live comfortably. For comfortable living, your basic physical needs need to be met. In most cases, people don't really worry about food and clothes. Honestly, people kind of overeat these days. So food has already been taken care of. What about your clothing? Well, most of us also have too many clothes. Koreans don't have problems with food and clothes, at least. Most people do have an issue with housing, though. To live well really entails living a healthy life and living in a decent house. Next, these days we must have a car. No matter how good your house might be, you cannot travel by bus carrying heavy grocery bags. That's not really living well. And that's why we want to have our own cars. So when it comes to your spirit's desire to love, you want to be filial to your parents and to take care of your children's future. For your desire to learn, you can write about your kids' education or studying for self-improvement. You can write your own education goals. Lastly, for your desire to contribute to your environment, you can write about charity or volunteer work. And to live well, you're also going to need some cash. Yeah, cash. After paying off all your debt, you want some cash in the bank at your disposal. This is cash that you can spend without worrying your husband and for giving to your parents. What do you think of having $100,000 to $200,000 of cash like this in your account? If that amount was $500,000 to $1 million, you'd be in a great mood, right? Right. It'd be great to have this cash readily available. What else is there? Well, travel and hobbies are also a big part of living well. Write down these sorts of things here. Of course, everyone's scenario is going to be a little different. For instance, someone who's happy with their housing situation doesn't really need to write anything about their house. So there are markings here, like you'd see on a ruler. You rate your current situation from 1 to 10. For example, rate how satisfied you are about your current health. Let's say you were born healthy, so you're maintaining pretty decent health, so you give yourself a 5. For housing, your dream is to live in a 231 square meter apartment, but your current place is 115 square meters. You hardly do any service work, and you have 0 cash. So finally, link all these dots into one circle, and that makes your wheel of life. A small indented wheel is evidence that your life is not really rolling well. On the other hand, if you can give yourself 10 points for each, the connected dots will represent a large, round wheel. If your wheel is small and crooked, then you have to even it out to make it balanced. So, if you want to get 10 points for each node, what you should do about your health, your housing, your dream car, parents, children's education, service work, donation, cash, travel, and leisure. You must fill out these squares in detail. For instance, you can't just write a nice house or a big house. Let's say you went to a realtor and you asked them to find you a nice or a big house. They're not going to take you seriously. You have to be clear about what type of house you want. Is it an apartment or a detached house? How many square meters is this house? You want to be as specific as you possibly can. It's good to write it in stages as well. So let's say you're now living in an apartment on a $300,000 long-term lease, but you'd like to move to one worth about $1 million and 165 square meters by a certain date. So write down these specifics. You should also write down the price. So first, write in as much detail as possible. Second, write the numbers down. That means write down the specific costs and dates. Please follow these guidelines at the very least. If you write it all out this way, you can get to the details. So once you've made it to a 165 square meter house, but you want at least 5 bedrooms, so then your house must be at least 231 square meters. Cars are next. I'm currently driving a Hyundai Sonata, but I've always wanted to drive something a little better. So you might think the Mercedes S-Series is a little too much for you. So you want to downsize it to an SL 550. Write it all down like this. Some might write down a Porsche. By doing so, you're already driving this car in your mind. So next is how you can be filial to your parents. Giving them just a little pocket money doesn't really count as fulfilling your filial duty. Giving them $300 or $500 is not going to cut it. You should actually be taking care of all their living expenses. Most seniors need about $2,000 to $3,000 per month. You're wrong if you think the elderly don't need money. They've got plenty to spend money on. Regardless, when you're barely making ends meet, supporting your folks is easier said than done. The least you can do is call them. Anyone can call their folks once a week, right? They don't really expect a lot out of us. We should be doing what we can now to our fullest and take steps toward our ultimate goals. The same goes for service work and donations. Those who say, "I'll give later when I'm rich," they don't keep their word. Once they get rich, they're busy shopping and they're not interested in charity. So if you don't help others who are worse off than you, even when you're struggling, you'll never be able to give and share your wealth. Even when you do become wealthy. That's why you have to think about how much you can help or give now. So you must envision the life that you want to live in your mind, like a movie. By envisioning it, you can add up all these figures. And once you've written out how much this and that costs and see what you're going to give, you'll find out it's a pretty high bill. Is $3,000 or $7,000 a month going to cut it? Impossible. You can't live your dream life with that. This is why the thought of making $3,000 to $7,000 a month can't energize you. Some folks even profess their love for living an ordinary life. To hell with ordinary people's lives. I lived an ordinary person's life for 3 years and it sucked. After going bankrupt, I lived in a $500 monthly rental apartment for 3 years. I felt in my bones how challenging it was to live an ordinary life. If you make up your mind to be rich and that you will be a leader in society, then it will happen. How so? All the rich people out there made it because they dreamed about it. The same is true for you folks too. No one will try to stop you. So why not make the declaration that you will be rich? Declare that you will be making $30,000 to $70,000 a month. Say to your friends, it's your call whether you join me or not. Just don't resent me later claiming that I didn't tell you. Make a grand declaration at the top of your lungs. Once you make such a declaration, then it will come true. There are still some people who insist to the end that it's impossible for them. Let me be honest. When I was poor, and I had this thought of becoming rich, I didn't really have 100% confidence in my heart that I was going to make it. I was ill, which prevented me from doing any work at all. Honestly, I thought I had a 1% chance of success and a 99% chance of failure. Nevertheless, we must march on, focused on that 1%. Imagine that you are trapped in a cave where all you can see are rocks in the darkness. You can see the tiny entrance far away. We must move forward toward that tiny, remote light. We must walk toward that light, one step at a time through the darkness. That's exactly how I felt. With everybody rejecting me and doubting me, I even started to doubt myself. However, you must think that you will. You must have hope at times when there is no hope. If you can't bring yourself to have hope, then you are hopeless. I always say, when there's no hope, the only hope you can have is to have hope. I said that to myself when I was down and out, struggling to survive, hundreds of thousands of times. However, I couldn't just throw in the towel. Why not? I had a family that I loved dearly. I knew that if I gave up, my beloved wife would fall into despair. My children would suffer through hard lives, and my parents would be disappointed to no end. For the sake of my beloved family members, I simply couldn't give up. Even if you feel trapped, with your heart full of darkness and despair. And even if it's been that way for a while, you are now here at the Success Academy. Perhaps you felt that you've discovered a ray of hope and that there might be light waiting for you out there. If you felt that you can have some hope in your life and caught even a glimpse of the possibility for making your dreams come true, you must hang on tight to that hope and go forward to the very end. Then your dreams will come true. The truth is that things don't happen with a 100% guarantee. Even if the odds are stacked against you 100 to 1, you should hang on to that 1% chance and change it to 2%, 5%, 10%, 50%, and finally make it come true. That's how all successful people made it. After finally succeeding, you can proudly announce to the world that you have achieved your goal despite all obstacles. Every successful person overcame a miserable past. The more miserable their past, the brighter their future success. The reason you're going through such a miserable time right now is so that later, when you finally succeed, you can say to the world that even in the face of the greatest adversity, you picked yourself up and you made it through. Your challenges and hardship are all for the glorious speech you will be making as a successful person. That's how I embraced my hardships. Even when I was driving that $2,800 used minivan, I thought to myself that these minivan days were numbered. I imagined looking back and talking fondly about this ordeal, and drove that minivan proudly. I proudly drove that minivan around, and I promised to give away luxury cars. In a way, it was a total pipe dream, and those who believed in that pipe dream and followed me were also pipe dream believers. How can you possibly take someone who is driving a used minivan seriously? The driver of such a vehicle saying that he'll be giving out luxury cars and cash of $50,000, $300,000, or $1 million? Nonsense! But that pipe dream has come true. And the same thing can happen in your own lives. You can say, I failed at everything it tried. I'm not good at anything. I've been a loser all my life. How can somebody like me make $30,000 or $70,000 a month? But these ridiculous fantasies do come true all the time, and you can take my word for it. You must make your dreams come true. What for? Because your success benefits your loved ones. You must make it come true. Believe me, there are so many things that you can change to achieve the balanced life that you've always wanted to live. To make the necessary changes for that kind of life, first and foremost, you must visualize it in your mind. You must start envisioning it. Envision yourself living in your dream house, driving your dream car, and taking care of all your children's needs. Envision being able to support your folks all that you want, doing charity work, donating to people in need, and traveling to your dream destinations. Envision a new you, living the life of your dreams. Write a scenario for this life, which you dream of, and keep it playing in your mind like a movie. What's great about this movie is that you can change it any way that you want. How so? You are the scenario's writer, director, and lead actor. Depending on the movie that you've written out, your life can change in that way. Believe it or not, it won't take that long. You can estimate 3 to 5 years tonight. Envision your dream life in your mind and write down your action plan with all your heart. I want to thank you for staying up with me to now as I conclude my lecture.
Okay, let's clap our hands to our chairman, Mr. Park and Gill, for that very motivating lecture for today. So we have learned the balanced life and life scenario. Nalaman po natin yung tamang pagsulat po ng ating life scenario. And I know we are all very excited to write again or i-update po yung ating life scenario. Kaya wag na po tayong magpatumpik pa. Sulat na po natin ngayong gabi or kung may time po tayo mamaya, isulat na po natin yung ating life scenario at pwede po natin i-send sa ating group chats para mabasa po ng lahat ng ating mga nandoon po sa ating AMAAC group chats. And thank you very much again to our chairman, Mr. Park Gill, for that very motivating lecture. Ngayon po, kung sino po yung gustong mag-share ng kanilang takeaway or may gusto po yung i-share regarding po sa ating napanood na lecture from our chairman, Mr. Park Gill, pa-unmute lang po ng inyong mic or i-raise hand po para po matawag po natin kayo. Okay po, kung wala pong gustong mag-share ng kanilang takeaway, ayan po, make sure po mamaya after po ng ating morning meeting, isend po natin yung ating takeaway sa ating group chat ng ating center po para na mababasa po ng ating lahat ng mga partners po na nandoon sa ating group chat. And ngayon po, since wala na rin po tayong oras, ayan po, ay binibigay po muna natin yung ating time sa ating mga YouTube viewers na nag-share din ng kanilang takeaway mula sa ating napanood na VOD. Ipinapasa ko po muna sa ating very hardworking na center head from Ariul, Marikina, Ada Center to read our YouTube comments, no other than Diamond Master, Ma'am Julian Valle.
Ayan, good morning po sa ating lahat. Good morning sa ating mga YouTube viewers. And good morning sa ating mga Zoom participants. Talaga naman pong napakaganda ng topic natin for today, yung about sa ating life scenario. Napakahalaga po talagang gawin natin yung life scenario natin dahil yan po yung gulong ng buhay natin dito sa paggawa ng ating Atomy business. Kasi once na ginawa po natin, habang ginagawa natin po siya, makikita natin yung improvement ng mga sinulat natin doon every time na gagawin natin yung ating life scenario. And, di ba meron pong natanggap yung mga ABR Season 1 na first time na mga attendees, yung mga 60, meron po doon sa ating, yung sa notebook na ganito, meron po tayo doon yung life's wheel. Pwede nyo po dito gawin yung inyong life scenario. Diyan nyo po isulat para talagang nare-review nyo po lagi yung inyong mga life scenario. And napakahalaga po niyan sa ating paggawa ng ating Atomy business. And ngayon, mag-proceed po tayo sa ating mga YouTube viewers. From Mary Jane Balya, happy watching Atomians here in Santa Ana, Cagayan. And from Julian Tabiano, good morning everyone watching in Ahoy, Iloilo. And from our very own Sharon Rose Master, good morning daw po sa lahat. And law of success has a preparation like law of farming and law of nature. Tama po yun, no? 'Di ba pag yung mga magsasaka talaga, bago nila gustong anong makukuha nilang harvest, talagang naka-ready na po sila, ginagawa po nila yung law of farming. Kaya talagang madami silang naani pag yun po yung pinagbasehan po nila. And sabi po ni Ma'am Vigilant Valle, our desire as human is to live well, to love, to learn, and contribute. Talaga naman po, lahat po naman po tayo gusto natin yung magmahal, meron din tayong minamahal. And syempre, gusto nating makatulong din po sa mga family natin at sa mga nangangailangan. And sabi ni Ma'am Lizelle, we want to live well for the people that we love. If we don't have purpose and love in our hearts, we are not inspired to work. A person who doesn't have passion is a person who doesn't love. Tama po yun, no? Yung kung wala kang kagana-ganang gawin yung makakatulong sa iyong pamilya, talaga naman pong hindi mo sila mahal. O dapat gawin na natin po yung makakatulong sa ating pamilya, kahit hindi man po instant, diba? Pero in the future talagang marami po tayong maitutulong sa kanila, magkakaroon sila ng magandang buhay. And sabi ni Ma'am Mary Jane Balia, Atomy is very generous company. Kahit noong nag-uumpisa pa lamang, talagang tumutulong na sila sa nangangailangan. Dapat ganun din po tayo, kahit pakonti-konti pa lang po yung income natin, matutunan din po tayo mag-share ng blessings natin para mas madami po yung pumasok na blessings. And the matter most is what is in our minds and what attitude do we have. Attitude is everything. Talaga naman po yung attitude natin, no? Hindi porket tumataas na po tayo dito sa ating Atomy business ay talagang nagbabago yung attitude natin. Dapat the more na tumataas po tayo is lalo po tayong nagiging matulungin at lalo din po tayong talagang nagiging maganda yung ating pag-uugali. Ayan, sabi ni Ma'am Vigilin, we must write our life scenario, specifically what goals do we want to achieve. Sabi nga po ng ating president, diba, sabi po niya, kailangan po yung sinusulat po natin is talagang specific, yung gusto mo talagang makamit, hindi yung gusto ko ng bahay, ganun lang yung ilalagay mo doon. Anong klaseng bahay? Mamaya, bigyan ka ng sobrang liit na bahay. Dapat ilagay po natin yung bahay na gusto talaga natin. Halimbawa, bungalows, or 2 palapag, 5 rooms, magkano at kailan. Yun po yung kailangan nating mga ilagay. Then sabi ng ating Sharon Rose Master, we should be specific in writing what we want to get or achieve. Kasi kung talagang sinusulat natin ng mula sa puso, ma-achieve po natin yung ating goal. Ayan, sabi po ni Ma'am Mary Jane, thank you President Park Hang-Gill for this lecture. We learned a lot, especially in writing our life scenario. Must be specific and detailed. And sabi po ni Ma'am Lizelle, we need to have courage and march on and hold on to that 1% chance of success. And from Ma'am Vigilant Valle, thank you so much Chairman Park Hang-Gill for that very inspiring and motivating lecture for today. We'll learn a lot. God bless everyone. And yan po yung mga from our YouTube channel. And binabalik ko po yung screen sa ating MC for today, Sales Master Jay Sabian.
Thank you very much, Diamond Master, Ma'am Julian Valle. Palakpakan po natin yung ating mga YouTube viewers na nag-share ng kanilang takeaways sa ating napanood na VOD. Yan, tama po yung mga kanilang na i-share na talagang boost us at talagang motivate po tayong gawin yung ating life scenario, which is one of the most important thing na kailangan ginagawa po natin in doing our Atomy business. Dahil sabi nga ng ating CEO, yung the loss of success is predetermined. So dapat i-determine po muna natin, kailangan i-decide po muna natin kung ano yung mga gusto nating makamit or mga goals po natin para talagang nagpa-follow po yung ating action. Ayan, thank you very much. And ngayon po is mag-proceed po tayo sa ating announcement, center announcement. Binabalik ko po ulit yung ating screen sa ating napaka-masipag na center head, Diamond Master, Ma'am Julian Valle.
Ayan, para sa ating center announcement, nagloloko po yung, hindi pa ma-share yung ating screen, pero mamaya po is meron po tayong Osenya Zoom seminar, kaya please po mag-attend po tayo. English lecture po ito. Ang topic po is Triactive Calcium by Diamond Master Robert Hoxing. And wala po tayong catching success po mamaya dahil yung ating ginagamit para sa pagla-live ng mahaba po is hindi siya gumagana. Kaya mamaya po is kailangan lang po nating mag-share ng ating Atomy business sa ating mga walls, and magsasend din po kami ng pwede nating panoorin na video sa ating mga group chat para po kahit papaano, kahit wala tayong catching success, ay meron pa rin po tayong magawa at meron din tayong i-share sa ating mga partners. And yan po, kung meron pa po kayong mga ibang concerns, pwede niyo po akong i-message. Alam ko naman natin na yung ating mga admins nasa Iloilo po ngayon, kaya kung may concern po kayo, pwede niyo po akong i-direct message or sa ating mga group chats. And mag-update din po ako kung may mga darating po tayong mga deliveries. And yun po muna yung ating announcement sa ngayon. At mag-ingat pang lahat, and thank you everyone. Binabalik ko po ang screen sa ating MC for today, Sales Master Joyce Fabian.
Thank you very much, Diamond Master Ma'am Julian. Bali palakpakan po natin na ating center head na talagang kahit po nangangapa po is talagang i-raos po natin yung ating morning meeting for today. Thank you very much din po sa ating mga Zoom attendees for joining us on our morning meeting for today, and we are now very motivated to share and do our Atomy business. Thank you everyone, at sa ating pong mga YouTube viewers din po, thank you. And now, to end up with our morning meeting, we will be reciting our company motto. So may I ask everyone to please open our camera and then mute our mic to recite our company motto. Ready position, please. Yep.
Yeah.
Company motto, go. Cherish
Cherish
the spirit,
the
create
spirit,
the vision,
the vision,
follow the
follow the
faith,
faith,
serve in
serve in
humility,
humility.
adapt,
Adapt,
adapt.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Ciao, siya po.